what's wrong with people being wrong?
Yeah.
Now, I've used this analogy elsewhere, and I think I used this in a conversation with Howard a few days ago on the phone. Um, but here in the UK, there's this god awful alcohol, cider, called White Lightning. It's cheap, it's nasty, it's strong, it's pale, it's flavorless. But a lot of teenagers, sort of stereotypically, go through a phase. I never did, but that's because I was a nerd. Go through a phase of taking or getting an adult to buy some of this stuff from a shop, taking it to the park, getting drunk with their mates. But the point is, very few people, unless they have a serious, serious alcohol problem, drink White Lightning into their adulthood. It's a very specific thing that some people do at a certain time when they're possibly vulnerable to it, either through peer pressure or just because they want to look cool and want to be cool. But it's bad. It's not a great product, and some people have access to it for a while. And if you ask them why you're doing this, they'll be like, because it makes me feel, whatever. They'll sort of couch it in the language of someone who is drinking a fine wine because they're a grown-up, sophisticated person.
Yeah.
But most people don't. They move on from it. And in that sense, I think genuinely most people have not heard of Graham Hancock, have not watched Ancient Aliens, in fact. Most people. And I mean that in so much as most people also aren't aware of some of the finer aspects of, say, the timeline of what happened in Britain post Iron Age. So
Yeah.
Romans, Saxons, Vikings, early medieval, so on and so forth. Some people will say to me on the street, if I'm doing a tour or a workshop or something. So who came first? Was it Tudor or Tudors or Vikings? That kind of thing. And that's not their fault. No, no, no.
No, I know.
No.
But again, that's the point. Most people don't need to know this.
No, no, exactly.
It's our job to know
Exactly.
it, and to a certain extent, just make that knowledge accessible if and when they want to hear it. And um, earlier today, to sort of round this thought off, I actually saw an interview on a YouTube channel called Lex Clips. He's got 1.3 million subscribers, and the video title is "Archaeologist Responds to Graham Hancock." Um, Ed Barnhart and Lex Friedman, apparently. And in the comments, people said the following. So the top comment: "Okay, this guy is great. Finally, someone that disagrees and isn't condescending or obnoxious." He's talking about
Yeah.
us, guys. He's talking about us.
Yeah.
Second comment: "As reasonable scientists, this is a quote. We are trying to disprove our own theories." End quote. And the guy says, "What an amazing quote. I like that a lot." Now, this is actually something I pointed out repeatedly, that Hancock isn't seeking to disprove his hypothesis. That's a weakness of his research. But again, for this person, this was revelationary to hear this. So archaeologists haven't communicated this to that person
Mm.
particularly effectively. Um, Someone else says every single archaeologist has that exact same shirt. And then finally, I really miss civil humans, the civility, sorry, that humans used to exhibit. This was a fine example of better days and civilized conversation. Now, those are just four comments on this non archaeologist interviewing an archaeologist about Hancock and Hancock's research, and they are clearly eager to hear a reasonable scientific rebuttal, and they are disappointed by condescension, and people who are being obnoxious about their standpoint. And I think somewhere in there, the fact that people are allowed for a little while to drink White Lightning, and the fact that not everyone has to know that all aspects of archaeology. Obviously, we three here don't know all aspects of
Yeah.
archaeology. um I think somewhere in there is a key to how we start to deal with Hancock and put him in a box which is appropriate, as opposed to having this sense of him being as it were, to go back to the religious analogy, the sort of the antichrist, because he's not. And
Okay,
and in some respects, again, we keep on saying this, it plays into the narrative to treat him as such. So go on.
I don't know all these characters. The American archaeologists all sound the same to me. It shows my inherent racism. Ed Barnhart, who the heck could that be? And I looked up. Yeah, he's really well known. So it shows how much little I know. That shows my blinkered, But yeah, university. So he's a Discovery Channel, Japanese public television, History Channel. He's appeared as public speakers. He's well known as a Mayanist. He's a sort of Central American archaeologist, right? So this guy's well known. I confess I didn't know him, but he's well known. He's speaking from a position of strength on a topic which is directly affected by Hancock, which I don't, because I said apart from a few sites, it really makes no difference to me. He's got a voice to speak on this, right? So that everything is screaming legit, effective, pushback on a prominent podcast. I'm very interested to watch that. But what I would also say, though, and I think this is where I'm disagreeing with Marc to some extent, is yes, sometimes people go, "Oh, look, isn't it nice? People talking civilized." I find where I would react a little bit to that, Marc, is I find a lot of people are doing a lot of the politeness policing, the tone policing. They don't really care about the content. They just want to see civility because they don't like the shouting. And the thing is, I think there's different horses for courses. I think we need angry archaeologists sometimes. We need to have the no Keanu no moments, but we also need to be having the Ed Barnhart talking for an hour and whatever it is it's actually shorter than that. Sorry, I've just picked on a clip, but but my point is, we need a bit of anger sometimes, but I think there's people who correct us whatever we do is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And so I'm reminded of one of my aunties. She's a woman who I don't particularly like. She's in a part of the family who sort of broke off in that sense. But she would always, even as a child, I noticed that she would say to the people around her, my mum included, obviously, can't we all just be grown-ups about this? And what I noticed as an 8-9-year-old was that what she meant by that was, can't you all just shut up and agree with me? And by being grown up, by not raising our voices, by having a sort of a calm consensus that I am correct, that somehow that is a civil way forward. And I see what you mean. Sometimes people call for I mean, actually, in the Joe Rogan, Flint Dibble, Graham Hancock conversation, lots of people were saying that in the comments. So nice to see a civilized, and what that also runs the risk of doing is elevating the insubstantial argument without any evidence to the same level as an evidenced and reasoned argument because it's civilized. So in that sense, civility can mask a lot of sins. But I feel as though the comments there were interesting, not least because, in terms of the simple communication of what scientific method is. You're trying to disprove your hypothesis, not prove your theory. I feel as though quite often, whether it's because we already know this stuff, and this is the so-called curse of knowledge. Once you know something, it's hard to know or hard to remember that other people don't know it instinctively. But sometimes I think archaeologists will say, "But we're right, we're correct," in a way that feels to other people, as the comments said, condescending and sort of sanctimonious. I mean, the the other thing as well is this idea of the archaeologists are somehow sort of almost priests of an ideology that's under threat, and we're sort of the holy warriors trying to keep bad information at bay. Again, all of these things I've mentioned with you this evening or today, I feel as though there's something there in the middle which is a good response. But I don't think everyone should be doing the same thing, because if everyone responds in the same way, then we are big archaeology. And I mean, as people will see, no doubt, with us three now, and with other people that you're going to be talking to, we all actually are not thinking the same precise thing. And that's good. That's really good. That's a great thing. That's a healthy thing.